So I'm going to take it slowly for the winter turn, just a little bit faster, but still kind of slow. And then we'll start picking things up after we do our year start sequence. So right now, it's the Germans' turn. First thing you do is determine who goes first. We've already established the fact that the Germans and the Italians will go first. Now we get back to the research. So if we go back and look at the German and Italians research points, they put 1 for military, which they're saving. They're not rolling. They're not rolling for the winter preparation. And remember, they already rolled for covert operations. Remember, they used 1 in Romania already. They got 1 left. They're saving the 1 they put in occupation policies, and they're saving the 1 in Muslim all rest. So the Axis say they're done, and now the Western Allies will choose. Again, they're saving the bombers 1. They put some in flexible deployment, which they saved. And remember, they already rolled for Anglo-French cooperation, which they got. So they're done. Let's move to the Russians. Russians put 1 in military, which they saved. And they put 2 in subversion, which they've already rolled for and done and missed. Remember, they missed subverting it. So they're done. Now let's look at the Japanese. And they saved the 1 in Chinese occupation. Now they already rolled for their force pull, military. So the Japanese are done. So the next thing we come to is the diplomatic points. Remember, the Axis put 1 to defend. They used the 1 in Denmark. They defended Poland, Romania, and they have 1 in the United States. So they will choose the United States. Now we look at the Allies to see if they put any in the United States. We go to the Allies. They put 3 in Belgium, 2 in Poland that they rolled for, remember, and they missed. And that's it. None in the United States. So the 1 diplomatic point in the United States brings down our tension table by 1. So now we're sitting at 3. It actually goes down to a 2. The Germans brought the U.S. Axis tension table down again, so they're only sitting at a 2. Now the Allies pick Belgium. The Allies put 3 into Belgium. The Germans put 1.
So since the Allies picked Belgium, they can't use covert there, but the Germans can use covert. So the Germans choose if they want to use any covert operations in Belgium. So the Germans have 1 left, and they choose to use that 1. The covert operation negates 1 DP that the Allies had. So they had 3, they're down to 2. Now Germans have 1, and the difference is a 1 in the Allies' favor. And that happens to be a minus 1 in the Allies' favor.
They rolled a 2 minus 1 becomes a 1. And what's that give them for Belgium? So if you look up the Belgium-Luxembourg diplomatic table, you will see that a die roll of a 1 through a 5 is no effect. So nothing has changed in Belgium. Let's check the Axis tension table now. What are the Axis going to do? Well, remember, there's always 2 for the game turn. So we go 1, 2, and then they are going to declare war. The Germans are going to declare war on Norway. That's another point. Up to 5. And then they are only taking a limited offensive. So a limited offensive does not bring it up anymore. So they will stop at a 5 for this turn. Now remember, if the Axis didn't get that DP, or the Russians don't take Eastern Poland, it would only get up to a 6. And we do not want to hit a 7 in 1939. That's part of your game plan. I put a little note right there. 1939, stay under 7. So if you look on the minor country forces chart and you look for Norway, you will see that Norway gets 2 1-3 infantry units. And you got to put them both on the capital. Especially because the Germans have the paratrooper and they're going to move one of these airplanes up. And they'll have a total of an 8. And what's the defense of the 2 1-3s? Well, it's 2. Doubled on defense is a 4. So the Germans will have a 2-1. So they need to put them on the capital, and hopefully they can kill some Germans. So you see, remember these spent units? Remember they're spent when they've been used for the turn? Well, when you start your new turn, all these are going to get turned over. So I'm going to go ahead and do German movement phase, and then I'll get back and show you what we got. So the German movement is done. We did stage a 5-4 plane. We shifted it up there. Remember, we had a paratrooper and an air base here already. So it stages up there. We just moved some men. You can look back that these infantry just moved up. And then we turned over our inverted planes and we moved them up to the front. All these planes stayed back from the line so the French won't be able to counter-air them. And let's see, right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, they can counter-air, so that's a bad base there. So we'll go out here, and they can be counter-aired there. So we don't want the French being able to counter-air our planes before the battle starts. Now we declared war, and we took a limited offensive. We paid 14 BRPs. Because we're going to move an infantry over there, and I'll explain why we do that. So we're ready for the combat phase. It's real easy. The plane and the paratrooper drop to attack. We need 6 ships to transport this 3-3 infantry. Now when the beach is undefended, you only pay the cost of the ships moving them. You don't have to pay the cost of that infantry. So that's the combat. The British cannot intercept because we invade out of this side on the eastern side. The British aren't allowed to come across the front boundary. They have to have ships based over here to intercept this, since we're coming out this side. So the attack is 2-1. The die roll is a 5. You go to your combat result chart. At 2-1, you go down to a 5. And D means defender eliminated. Combat phase is done. The plane flies back home, is inverted. The paratrooper conquers also. And that's the end of the German combat phase. We will go to the unit construction. We have $51 to spend. We have to save 20 BRP. So because of that, we're only going to buy enough that we need to attack the Low Countries with.
So we would like about 7 tanks, 25 to 30 aircraft, preferably 30 aircraft. And then whatever else we can get in the infantry, 15 infantry. So you try to go with that. And then we'll be good to go.
The Germans builds, and I'm going to just place them around the board there, and then SRs, and I'll show you the way it looks when the Germans are done. Face down, because in the unit construction we want to put an air base right there, SR the paratrooper there, so we can paratroop back into the high. This infantry SR'd from the beach into also, so that's 2 SRs. Then I SR'd a German from Germany that was built infantry to the capital of Poland, Warsaw. Then I just SR'd another air base to the front here and moved some planes around, make sure none of our planes are in range, and put some air bases on the line there so I can get ready for protection of my army as we move into the west. So this one I don't have to move because when I next turn I can stage it, so it's good. and the Germans are done. The Italians, it's pretty quick. We don't shift anything because we like our defense still, because the British still have troops loaded there. They still have troops loaded over here in Egypt. So they still have a port there with infantry on it. So we keep the Italians the same. All we had was 3 ships left to build in the force pool, so we built them. And I like to put the Italian ships on these 2 ports. I like to keep 1-9 there and the other 3 right there. That's how we deal with the British and Malta, getting our supply and our forces down to Africa. So the Italians are done, and they still have 29 BRPs left. So it is the Allies' turn. Basically, the Allies, the British got hurt with that raider. They don't have a lot of money. They would like to get some more planes and ships on the board. That's their lifeline. They'll do that first, then we'll see if we have room for the tanks. But since the invasion is probably not likely to happen, I'll probably send this group now into France. We don't have to keep the invasion threat there any longer. The battle for France is going to start. I like to have 2 army units and 2 British infantry units and my aircraft to help in France. Just a little side note. If you have separate players playing the British and the Russians, well, the French, the longer they stay in and they help beat the Germans and the Germans don't conquer them, the Russians are going to do all the overrunning and conquering over here and end up with all the objective cities and win the game. So just as a side note, as the British, you want to keep France into the game till about fall, but you want to see them go down. You want to see the Germans conquer them. Fall 1940 would be nice with you. If the Germans conquer them sooner, then that hurts you. If they don't conquer them and they take longer, it's going to help the Russians. So fall 1940 is a nice bet. So if you keep the aircraft here, 2 armored units from the British and 2 infantry units from the British, then you can make that happen. And little side notes, when we start 1940, we want to help ourselves on the Vichy France table and the French surrender table. So the British are just going to shore up some stuff. I'll show you what I did. I'll go ahead and take their turn, and I'll show you. So the British didn't do much. The French shifted their tanks and their infantry, put them in the second row, because the first line of defense is actually going to be the Belgium and Netherlands. So the British end up to be the second line of defense. So I got 7 factors there, infantry and a tank, and then infantry and a tank, infantry and tanks behind it, because exploiting armor, when they come through the infantry, are minus 1 DM, but armor is not. So we got a triple line of defense going when they attack there. Now, I was able to give up a 2-3 because I really don't need them anywhere. And I like to SR one down to Africa just to help us. What if we get those free French colonies? And that's an extra 2-3 to help us fight. So the British went ahead and SR'd. Okay, there was no ships there, if you remember. They're up here. But in the movement phase, you shift the ships down. Then they SR the units into France. That's how they got there. The Germans aren't going to risk an interception coming through British aircraft and that 9 fleet and British ships from up there. So they're going to do raiding again. So the British, they weren't able to build a whole lot. They built 5 fleets. They built 3-4 aircraft and some replacements, and that's it. The replacement went down to Egypt, because if these guys are attrition, you got to lose a factor. You just like to take off a replacement. Right there's a plane, the 3-4 plane I bought. It goes inverted. It can SR and still do things, but it's inverted. It can't be used. It's on air base. All these are air bases right here with the Air Force governing this whole armored row. The new British fleet went there. So this side is done. We move to the Russians. As the Russians, I don't like to give up any ground. So the entire front I try to cover. As you can see, from the Finnish hexes on down. Then I start backing it up with extra infantry, the stronger ones as we go, and then I back it up by tanks. Then the airplanes are backing that up. Now, most important thing is do not spend past 41 BRPs with the Russians. With my plan, don't do that. So they're done. They almost have everything on the board. They didn't buy 3 infantry there, so they'll get them next turn. The Germans aren't really going to threaten anything, so you ain't worried about it. So that's it. Russians are done. So let's bring the German raiders back out. So remember, the British lost 2 ships and the Germans 1. So actually the British have 1 less ship to intercept with. They come out of the same ports, 1 9 fleet there, 1 9 fleet there, and the Germans bring out 2 9 fleets from here, or 17 ship factors. We got 4 interceptions again. Let's roll the dice, see what happens. This one turned out, one of the 3s got by easily. The other 3, the British have rolled a 3, but you got to add 1 because it's 3 or less ships, so it became a 4. The other 3 got through, but both 6s got stopped. Then we had ensuing naval battles. The British won them both. The Germans ended up losing 3 ships, and the British won. 6 BRPs are lost to the British, and that's why you say BRPs. Even though I lost 17 in the first turn, I didn't think he could repeat that again, so I only saved like 14 burps. If you save yourself 14 to 15 burps, you should be pretty safe. So he loses 6 only, so the British were left with 8 BRPs, which, if you try to work it out right, 8 BRPs could have bought you that tank, but you don't know what you're going to be left, so it's better safe than sorry. So this side is done, raiders are done, all those ships are spent, so they come back when we start the next turn. So the board looks like that with spent stuff around. There's nothing in Gibraltar anymore. The British will fix that. The big battle's right there in the west while you're protecting yourself. So the defense of England right now is aircraft and ships, and the Germans don't have a lot. They really can't get there. Now, one thing you have to do is, because of this German paratrooper, he can actually paratroop to this port, kick the ships out, and then SR German troops in. But if you leave a replacement there, you can't SR next to it. So there's 1 in Scapa Flow, 1 there. So the German paratrooper can get there, but he's not going to kill a replacement, and the Germans can't occupy or SR troops in, giving the British a turn to get his stuff back. So we'll just see how that goes. Matter of fact, I think the British would like to SR actually a replacement on that, make it tough for the Germans to actually even fight that. So you let him get on the ports and beaches, but he won't get any farther. That's the end of the Winter 39 on the European side. Now with the Japanese, we have to concern ourselves with the tension table. We're going to take 1 for the turn, but we don't want to let our money go to waste. The BRP's there, we're going to have to buy that fleet and that carrier, which is going to increase the tension table. 1 for the carrier, 1 for the fleet. So it's going to put us over the 3 mark, which allows the US to give money to China. But we can take 1 offensive and not really affect us later in the game. So we're going to go ahead and we'll attack that hex first and then go from there. And then the communist will just take the 21 table again on our attrition. So the Japanese took a limited offensive on that 1 hex, succeeded in destroying it. Then they took an attrition against the communists there and got 2 counters this time. So the communists take it off the capital of Yenin. That way they're just going to rebuild right then. Now the Japanese also attritioned, because with the limit offensive, you can take a limit offensive and attrition against the same forces. You just can't use the troops that took the limited offensive. The attrition at the 17 table, they got one counter, so they take off one replacement. So we want to keep eating away at the Chinese BRPs just like the Allies want to do to the Japanese. So we'll keep going with that. Now let's look and see how it affected our tension table. We got one for the turn. We got one because we built a fleet. And that's it. I'm actually going to save 18 BRPs. So now we go to the Chinese turn. Now here it says, now since the Americans have already gone, they don't get to SR the BRPs to China this turn. But starting next turn, they can grant 5 BRPs a turn. First thing we'll also do is add 10 BRPs to the base of the US base and the growth. So he now goes to 170, and in the Pacific another 10 to the base and the growth. Communists roll an attrition table and get a 1, and they kill the Japanese counter. The Chinese roll on the 21 table and get a 1. They destroyed 3 counters and they get to pick a hex. Now the Japanese took 5 factors of infantry, 2 corps off there, a 3-2 and a 2-2 right on that hex, because we don't want the Chinese to take it, because it's going to help the communists out. Because above all, we need to keep the pressure on the communists. So I had to take that there, and then we took 1 infantry off of this area. So just on that attrition alone, we lost 5, 6, we lost 7 infantry factors. That's what the Chinese can do to you. We're going to have to buy them all back and get them back in there. So the Chinese went ahead and picked this hex to get us back to the status quo, because we still want to put the pressure on those objectives. If the Chinese don't do something about it, we're going to hit them and try to take the money from them. So the Chinese turn is done. They had 4 BRPs, and they bought 2 infantry, which they put there, and 1 replacement, which they put back there. The communists were only able to rebuild 1 infantry. So this is what we want to do. We want to start the downfall on the communists not being able to get all their troops back on the board. So that is it. 1939 winter turn is complete. Start sequence. The 1939 base, that's the base from the year before, is 150. Surplus, Germany had $20 left. The growth, he gets to take that 20 and times it by 50%. That's the German's growth rate. The growth rate can be found in the setup scenario book or on his force pull card. So 50% gives him a plus 10. Then it goes 39 base again, is the same 150. But what are you going to add to that base? You're going to add his growth of 10. Now in the 1940 year start sequence only, any money that's left over, you usually in subsequent year start sequences get to increase your base. And every year you start with that base. But in the 1940 year start sequence, you do not increase the base. So it just gets added as a total for that 1 year. So the growth is 10. For Poland, Germany gets 20. For Denmark, he conquered, get 10. For Norway, he conquered, he gets 10. So the total BRPs added to his base are 50. The 39 base from row 4 up there is 150. So your total is 200. Now at 200, we get to calculate how many diplomatic points we get and research points we get. Diplomatic points, it's for every 100 BRPs you get an extra diplomatic point. And then there's, if you look in the diplomatic book, you get extra diplomatic points for doing various things. So for example, Germany has a basic allotment of 3. Well, from that 3, since he has 200 points, and for every 100 points you get another diplomatic point. That's 2 more points, so that goes to a 5. Then for taking Warsaw, he gets 6. And then for taking Denmark and Norway and owning them capitals, he gets 1 more for both of them as a total, collectively. So it becomes 7 diplomatic points. Now his research points, basic allotment, is like 5, and then from there, for every 50 BRPs he has, he gets more. So with the 200 BRPs, he gets a total of 9 BRPs, 9 research points. So after you total the 1940 total 200, we can spend 10% of that on strategic warfare. Now I could spend up to 20 BRPs on that. That's 10% of 200, but Germany's really hurting for money in this first year, so I just tone it down a little. I spend 14. That leaves me a total to run this whole year with 186 BRPs. Cut that in half, it's 92. That's my spending limit per turn. And then that's how you calculate the Germans. So I'm not going to go over every little thing, but you can see Italy saved 29. They're going to add 6 to their growth. That's all they get. They're getting $81. They get to spend 41. Their diplomatic points are 2, research 3. Okay. Japan, their base is 100. They were left with $18. That's a growth rate. Their growth rate is 30%. That's 5. And they have the Chinese cities at 5 each for 4 of them. So it's 25. So they add 25 to their base. Their base is 100. They get a total of 125. Now they're not allowed to build strategic warfare weapons yet because they're not at war with the U.S. Their spending limit is 63, and they get 5 research points. Okay, and it goes on down the line. Russia, they don't have a base. Remember, they have no economy based on anything that they're carrying over. They just have industry. But they had $41 left. They have a growth rate of 30 that gave them 12 extra dollars. So they're going to add 12. Poland, they took Eastern Poland, they get 10. They took Bessarabia, they get 5 more. But now they add 10 BRPs per industry. And in 1940 year start sequence, they get to add an industry. So that's 100 points for that. So their total, 127. Half of that, 64. They get 3 diplomatic points, 5 research points. France, growth of 15, really no big deal. France shouldn't be around. They're going to spend $47 a turn. They get 2 DPs and 3 RPs. Britain, 125. Now they were left with $8. $8 times their growth rate of 40% gave them 3 plus 3. Their base is 125. They get a growth of 3. And that starts them with 128. Now they're going to go ahead and spend their full 10% on their strategic warfare. So they subtract 12, they end up with 116, spending limit 58. They get 4 DPs and 6 RPs. US, they don't calculate year start sequence right now like the other countries. They just keep running a running total of what they have every turn. So it's 170 in Europe, 95 in the Pacific. Their spending limit is 85.42. They do manage to get 1 RP. Now the U.S. does not receive research points like the other countries. They combine their total tensions from the Europe side and the Pacific side, the tension levels. And for every cumulative of 10, they get an RP. So they were only at like 7 or 8, and so they get 1 RP, as you see there. Now, because we keep the tension levels real low, and we don't want to hit 7 on the European side, the Americans don't get any diplomatic points. Now, that's really going to help us in the diplomacy section. Something I'm going to talk about next.